We live in a society that tells us who to be, what to do, and how to behave. And if you don't fit in that box, you don't belong. Well, I say we challenge that because I believe that we were created to be unique individuals with a unique purpose. We all have something different to bring to the table, and we can all learn from each other if we're just willing to take the time to listen. Welcome to the Unavoidable podcast, where true connection happens when we stop avoiding the hard stuff. I'm your host, Caitlin Childs. Pull up a seat and let's see what we can learn from today's guest. Welcome back to the podcast. We have my father-in-law, Frank Childs, with us again for his second episode, where we are talking about strengths and weaknesses this season, particularly your strength of being understanding and gracious and able to see things from all sides. And so today,
Oh no.
we're going to talk about weaknesses.
Oh.
So, what would you say is your biggest weakness?
I think my biggest weakness, and we were talking about this earlier. Boy, I don't want to. Can I be gracious and not talk about weakness?
No.
Let's go back to strengths part 2. Oh no, I think my weakness is being, I won't say indecisive, but pulling the trigger to say, "Yep, this is what we're going to do. We're moving ahead."
Yeah.
I want to look at all the options before I'm one of them. I want to look under the hood, all around. Then I want to walk around the car, walk away from the car. I want to do everything but purchase the car.
Yeah.
To the last minute.
Yeah.
So.
And we were talking about how just between takes, we were having a conversation and I was like, wait a minute, we got to record this because it was starting to get really good. But for me, I don't have that issue because even though I am, and I have a tendency to be indecisive because I struggle to trust myself to make the right decision. When it comes to like something God has told me to do, I'm like, say when. I am so quick to pull the trigger. And so it does kind of balance each other out, I think, because you sometimes are like, okay, Caitlin Bliss, let's think about this. Let's think it all the way through. And then I'm kind of encouraging you to like, well, come on, Papa, don't take forever, you know?
Yeah, I think you have to balance because you don't want to be too quick, but you don't want to be too slow.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I'm too slow.
Yeah.
And somebody could say, well, that's a good strength to have, but is it? Because sometimes I feel like I miss God. I can talk myself out of something really quick.
Yeah.
Just the other day, we had a member of our church, his father passed away. And, I felt like, as a pastor, one of the pastors to help represent our church and visit. And the whole day I was trying to talk myself why I don't need to go to the visitation. But I kept hearing, no, you need to go. And I'm like, but it's an hour drive one way. And
welcome to my life.
Yeah, but I did. And so the funny thing is, I kept saying the reason I'm going is for the member. I'm going for the member because I didn't know his dad never came to our church.
Yeah.
And you're not going to believe this. I get down there and I text him and say, am I at the right place? He said, no, it's at this place. I said, okay, thank you. Give me directions. He said, sure. And then next thing I know, in his text, he says, oh, I'm not going to be there. And I'm thinking, so I drove an hour down here and I left early to give myself some time.
Yeah.
And you're not here. And you're the only person I know.
So did you still go in?
I still went in. And actually, I turned out I met a guy that I did know years ago. But that was the weirdest, awkwardest thing. And all I could think is the main reason I felt like I was coming was for you.
Yeah.
So anyway, but it's all good. We text him and he appreciated everything. So
yeah.
And something could have been on his side of whether it was sick or something.
Right.
But yeah, I try to talk myself out of everything.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. You do have a tendency to
Yep.
do that. And I think it comes from a place of being I guess reserved would be the right
Hmm.
like you try to reserve things.
Oh
Um
yeah.
money.
Yes.
You like to have your little pot of money.
Hmm.
Um time
Hmm.
and all of these things. It's like you want to have this little collection and you don't deplete it
Hmm.
past a certain
Hmm.
amount.
Yep,
And
that's me.
we were kind of talking between takes about I had told you something that I had heard about when you look at things like a pizza. Leif Hetland said this in one of his books, but it was like you imagine things like a pizza and there's only a certain amount of slices. There's only like 18 slices in a pizza. And so you're wondering, like, is there going to be enough for me? But then when you're a child of God, you can be like, oh, my dad owns the pizza shop. So like he
Hmm.
can make as many pizzas as I want him to make. And so you don't have to count on those reserves. You don't have to count on this certain amount because you know that there's always more to pull
Hmm.
from.
Yep.
And so that's just a different way to look at it. When we look at it as there's only a certain amount and we have to make sure we have this much, then it can kind of cheat us out of what else is available to
Well,
us.
that's one of my. It's just like it's fun at our house, but like every year, Bridget will buy me like the grape juice
Mhm.
and the sparkling grape. That's what it's
Yeah,
called.
yeah,
And I look in the refrigerator and I really want some, but all I'm thinking is that's the last one.
yeah.
I only got one. And if I know when I open it's gone.
Uh-huh.
And then another joke is we all if there's a brownie mix and she cooks it and we eat it and I'll see that one piece left. I'm thinking if I eat that piece, it's gone. So
Yep.
I end up just leaving it in the dish
Nobody eats it
and
in their
nobody eats
house.
it. And
No,
then the next thing we know, we throw it away.
yeah. So
And
it's like you
I
wasted
wasted something
rather than
that
enjoying the
and
last of it.
hmm
Yeah.
and it's like I told you when I was in school, my favorite school year was my junior year because I knew I had one more year left.
Yeah.
So,
It's
so,
always about wanting to
but
keep
I
that
want to keep that
last
one
little
little
bit.
piece. I want to hold on to that $1 bill just a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's probably my weakness.
Oh, if we go out to a restaurant to eat, Papa's gonna pick the cheapest thing on the menu, whether he likes it or not.
Hmm.
It's like if it's the cheapest thing, that's what he's
Yeah,
gonna get because that means there's more money in your pocket, and you don't have to deplete those reserves.
that's right. And that's how I've always been because I can
Yeah.
remember going out and eat with some friends years ago, and they would always say, "How come you always get the club sandwich?"
Uh huh.
And I said, "Well, I like club sandwich." He said, "It's the cheapest thing on the menu."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, so
Touche.
yeah, that's me." So that is one of my weak points.
Well, and you also said that it kind of had to do some with the way you were raised.
Yes, and like I said, and again, I think it's a balance. I think
Yeah.
we need to have some of it because one thing about it, you just got to have some wisdom and balance in here.
Right.
My dad always taught me there's you don't buy what you want, you buy what you need.
Yeah.
And just he was a philosophy is if you need a car, you don't need the car with all the bells and whistles on it. You
Right.
just need a car that will get you from place to place.
Hmm.
But you so always buy what you need, not what you want. And so when we go out to eat,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, here's this
I
food.
need
I
food.
need food, but I would love to have the steak and shrimp,
Yeah.
but that price says 25.99 when that hamburger and fries says 10.99,
Yeah.
and I can't get full on that hamburger and fries.
Yeah.
So,
Well, let me tell you what God taught me about this because that's kind of how I was taught or how I retained what I was taught. I was taught God supplies all your needs. Okay. In my mind, I'm like, well, a need is food, clothing, shelter,
mhm,
maybe a vehicle. So,
yep,
like, those are the things that I can count on God for, right? Like, He's going to give me food. It may not be what I want, but my needs will be met. He's going to give me a house. It may not be the nicest house, but my need will be met and I will have shelter over my head. And so I depended on him for the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day he was talking to me and he said, Caitlin, uh, what is a need? And I said, well, it's like things that are necessary for your
Mm-hmm.
survival, right? And he said, why don't you look up the meaning of the word need? And so I looked it up and it said something that is necessary or extremely important. And so he
Mm-hmm.
said, what is extremely important to you? Because that's what I want to give you. It's not just the bare minimum for survival, it is what's important to you, because those are the things that I want to give you. So when I say I'll supply all of your needs, I mean the things that are important to you.
And you know, the thing is, I know the scriptures.
Yeah.
And I know God, just like whether it's healing in your life, so many people say, well, if I can just get through the day, I'll be fine. But God wants you to live life abundantly. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of times, we, as Christians, we are Christ followers, as I'd rather say, we can't really comprehend that because we think, do we need all the luxury stuff? And we forget sometimes God, our Father, is the King.
Yeah.
He lives in palaces.
Oh,
Think
yeah.
about it. I mean, heaven,
Prince William does not live in a dumpster. I
yeah,
can tell you
yeah.
that right now.
Heaven is not going to be mediocre. It's going to be
Yeah.
fine. There's nothing on this earth, as many buildings and castles or whatever we built won't even stand up close to what heaven's like. So
Yeah.
God likes nice things.
Yeah.
So I'm preaching to myself here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if God likes nice things, shouldn't we like things?
Yeah.
If he wants to bless us, and what is, so I'm actually teaching myself
You
today.
sure are. You keep going. But the thing is, like, a lot of people confuse that, I think, with prosperity gospel
Yes,
because they'll be like, uh, God didn't die for your mortgage or whatever. I'm not talking about prosperity gospel, but here's an example I like to give. When you look at the story of Willy Wonka,
right.
you got Willy Wonka, right, who is this like uber successful candy factory man, and you've got the kids that come into the factory for the tour. Of those kids, there's Veruca Salt and there's Charlie Bucket. Veruca Salt is, I want everything in here. This is mine, mine, mine. Daddy, get it for me. Ma, 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 ma. Like, she's acting entitled to
Mm-hmm.
it. She has done nothing to deserve it, to earn it. Like, she's just like got her hand out, like, gimme, gimme. And what winds up happening is that separates her from the person who can give it to her.
Mm-hmm.
But Charlie Bucket, he tucks himself up under Willy Wonka's arm and is asking questions. What is this about? What is this like? Why did you create this? How did you think of this? Blah 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 blah. He's building a relationship. And so because he built that relationship, he winds up getting everything Willy Wonka has.
That's good.
So it's like, if you're seeking a relationship with God, seek first the kingdom of God, and
Oh,
all these
yep.
other things will be added unto you. That's not prosperity gospel, that's biblical
Mm-hmm.
truth. So it just depends on what you're seeking. Are you seeking his heart or are you seeking his hand?
Right. And I think people have a hard time to separate that.
Yeah.
But that's like, I mean, I don't know. That's preaching.
Yeah.
That's preaching.
We didn't mean to go off on
Yeah.
that tangent, but that tends to happen when we're together.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
preach to each other a
Yeah.
lot.
We have a lot of stories.
Yeah.
Well, but I don't know. It is amazing though how I just started thinking about that.
Yeah.
There's no God only has the best in His house,
Yep.
and He wants us to have the best.
Yeah.
But again, like you say, we don't need to be just going after just the junk and stuff. The
Yeah.
junk and stuff's going to come as your
Right.
relationship with your Father comes.
Right.
The more you spend time with Him, you get to know Him. He gets
Yeah.
to know you. He knows your desires.
Mhm.
And just like a father, what did Jesus say? If a son asks bread, is he going to give him a stone?
Yeah.
Is he going to just give him bare minimum?
No.
No, he's going to give him the
Good
things he
gifts.
asked for. He's not going to give him second best.
Right.
He's going to give him the best.
Right.
God don't look around with Jesus even. What did he do? He looked around heaven and he said, you know what? I'm not going to send an angel down. I'm
Mm.
not going to send anybody down on the earth. I'm going to send my best. And Jesus was his
Wow.
best. So he went down. So he sent Jesus. He
That's really
always
good.
gives his best. I can't claim that. And that's a brother Kent.
Oh, well, but yeah, I believe that. Brother Kent is not family per se, but he might as well
Yeah, he
be.
might as well be.
He was Mr. Frank's mentor,
Yep.
and basically I call him Josh's grandfather because he
Yep.
basically is. But he has a lot of
Lot of
wisdom.
wisdom.
Oh my word. I would love to get him on the podcast one day. That
I
would
think
be
you might try to do that. I think you'd do it.
But it's funny to me how, just like you were saying, as you were reflecting on the love of God, like that just kind of came to you. Like the more time we spend with him, the more we learn about his heart. And the more we learn about his heart, the things that we consider to be our weaknesses, they kind of start to disappear. As you learn and grow,
Mhm.
those weaknesses become where they're not so weak anymore. And like for me, I used to be incredibly fearful of everything. You know that about me.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness. When we first met, I was scared of my own shadow. But as I've grown and as I've gotten closer to God, I'm not afraid of hardly anything
Yeah.
now.
Yep. You know, my brother-in-law, he's in the ministry, and we used to talk. And one thing he would say stuff like, "Frank, you just need to take the leap." And I'm like, well, if I take the leap, I'm going to be holding on to something. He said, but that's not taking a leap of faith.
Yeah.
And that's really what he did. He just said he was going to move his family to Texas. And I'm like, oh man, that's a big leap. And he
Yeah.
did it. And now he's, like I said, one of the pastors at his church.
Yeah.
So so I guess I need to take a little bit more leaping.
Yeah.
So
Don't worry, I'll push you. I'm
oh no,
great
I'm
at
sure
that.
you will.
I'm great at that. That's one of
So
my strengths.
but it is, but that is my weak point. If I
Yeah.
if I was to say it, but the flip side of that, if I'm at if I hear, like, I did this just the other day. I was at this conference and they said, look, we don't need your money. We don't need to take up an offering. But the pastor said, but I don't want to hold a blessing from you.
Mm.
And he says, so if you want to give, and he put something out there, and immediately, I don't have a lot of money in my wallet, but I heard God say, give all your money out of your wallet. Now it probably wasn't, but maybe 15. It might have been $20. It wasn't like a
Yeah.
lot, but here's where I feel like, because I was obedient, it doesn't really matter about the amount. It's
Hmm.
just being obedient to give, and that's what I heard in my spirit. Give whatever's in your wallet.
Yeah.
All. Don't hold back a dollar.
And that challenges you with your need to want to
Yeah.
reserve things.
But at the same time, those are easy things for me.
Yeah.
Um, I'll never forget, this happened years ago. I don't know if I ever told you a story, but there was this guy, he came to preach. And back then money was, if it was tight. Of
Yeah.
course, you know me. So I basically had a $20 bill in my wallet. This was a Sunday night. Well, back then I would pay myself an allowance.
Hmm.
So that $20, because I worked outside from town to town, that was my lunch money
Hmm.
for the week.
Yeah.
And now Bridget would laugh at this, but sometimes my lunches might be just a Mountain Dew and some crackers. That might be my lunch. Again, because I didn't want to go spend five,
Yeah. I
$6 for that.
believe it.
But anyway, so that's all I had was $20, and I felt like God said, give it all. And I was trying to talk myself out of that one. I was like,
Hmm.
God, I won't have any lunch money. I won't
Yeah.
have anything. He said, give it all. I said, I won't even have money if I had to buy gas for the vehicle. I mean, times were just a little tight then.
Yeah.
And so I did. I'll tell you how God works. Um, the next day, I'm working out in the field, and all of a sudden, I look down the ground, there's a $20 bill. And I'm like, wow. And it had dirt on it. It's like it had been buried almost. But yet just enough stuck out. So I got it. Well, then the next thing I know, the next day, I'm getting gas and I see $5 bills all over the gas parking lot where it had blew out in the grass by the road. So I walk over there and I just saw one. I grabbed it. Well, the next thing I know, there was another one. I went and grabbed it. There was another. I grabbed it. By the end of the week, I had obtained $100.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay.
And
So
it's like it literally just fell out of the
it
sky,
just fell out.
practically.
Yeah, it really
Manna from
did.
heaven.
And I have more stories. But anyway, so when I say I'm weak, I am weak pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
But when I do hear from God,
Yeah.
I do it. But I may close my ears sometimes and say, all right, God, are you really talking? If that's you, knock 2 times. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, but that's my weakness. And I'm starting today. I'm going to get better.
Yeah, I'm going to hold you to it.
You probably will because you've already held me to my TikTok stuff.
Yes.
So,
he needs to be on TikTok, which I don't know by the time this airs. TikTok may
it
be
may be
gone.
gone.
I don't know. But the thing is, there's always going to be another platform.
Yeah.
I mean, so just gotta start. And that's what I tell people all the time, because I'll get people who will comment on my videos and stuff and say, well, God told me to write a book several years ago and I just hadn't got around to it. And I'm like, the biggest blessing of my life, well, monetarily speaking, came after I wrote my book because I was obedient, and God just like opened the floodgates on that. And so it's like, you don't even know the blessing you're missing out on. And that's why I do tend to push people a little bit, because I'm like, listen, I'm pushing you towards a blessing, I promise.
Right.
And so you're going to thank me for this later. But sometimes people just need that because they do struggle in that area.
Yep. I need push, and my daughter pushed me a few weeks ago. So,
yeah.
And I got it done.
Yep.
So we got to push for some.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, a lot.
Some people don't push them.
Yeah.
Josh is one of those that you can't push him. He don't like to be pushed.
No.
You got to let him do his thing.
But when he gives, look out, because he will give the shirt off his back.
Oh, yes, he will.
He will give.
Yes, he
is
will.
a giver.
Absolutely.
So anyway, so my weakness is giving, and I'm fixing to change that. Hopefully the next podcast, that may be one of my strengths.
Yeah.
You might say, wow, we might not even talk about grace. We might talk about giving.
Well, there you go.
That'd be cool. So,
well, thank y'all for joining us for this episode. And we're going to do one more with Mr. Frank. So be sure to join us for that one next time. If you enjoyed today's episode and you want to connect further, you can head over to yourfriendcaitlin.com. That's yourfriend, CAITLIN.com. There you can find all of my social media links, get updated on what's new, and even check out some of my books that can help you learn even further. Check back with us next time. See you then.